This week's Torah portion of Parshat Shemot says an amazing thing at the very, very beginning of the Parsha. All of us are familiar with the fact that the Jewish people will now go into years of slavery, years of being persecuted. And when the Torah introduces these years, it introduces it that it was the result of Vayakom melech chadash asher lo yada et Yosef. A new king arrived who did not know Joseph. Now, it could be understood that he did not know Joseph, but it's a little hard to understand that. I mean, after all, Joseph was the viceroy of Egypt, the savior of Egypt during the years of the famine. And so he essentially was really the icon of the Egyptian empire. So it's hard to comprehend that there would come a new king who would not know Joseph. And that prompts Rashi, for example, based on the Talmud, to say, Asher lo yadat Yosef, he did not know Joseph. Asa atzmo keilu lo yodea. He made himself as if he did not know Joseph. In other words, within his plan, in his internal plans, he decided that I'm going to ignore Joseph and I'm going to continue and ultimately persecute and enslave an entire nation, the Jewish people. Now, these are very, very important words to understand. Asher lo yadat yet Yosef. Asa atzmo ki'ilu lo yada. He made himself to ignore Joseph. He conveniently decided to ignore who Joseph was, to ignore what he had done, the good that existed from Joseph, and the very fact that Joseph ultimately saved and salvaged the Egyptian empire. And we say to ourselves, how could someone behave so atrociously? How could someone ignore and make themselves as if they don't know? And yet it happens in our society today. It continues to fester in our society today. People who suffer from mental health, the amount of people who do not understand them, who do not comprehend them, who do not want to understand them. Asa etzmam ki'ilu lo yada. They make themselves as if we don't know. These are weird, strange people with problems that are not familiar to us, and we do not need to familiarize ourselves with them. Our lack of understanding, our boorishness is acceptable. We'll make ourselves as if we don't know. We'll make ourselves as if we don't comprehend. And therefore it becomes a problem that we, if we choose to ignore it, do not necessarily have to confront. Obviously, this in itself, if you think about it, is quite cruel, almost Pharaoh-like. I myself have an experience as well, whereby I am a griever in bereavement. And I remember there are still people today who don't know, who claim not to know what to say to me when they see me. And I've heard this from other grievers as well. And so what they do is, asa atzmam ki'ilu lo yada. They walk to the other side of the road, or they choose not to confront me, or they opt not to converse or discuss or bring up Gila with me. This is asa atzmam ki'ilu lo yada. This too is cruel. It's ignorant. It's improper. It's not the way to behave. Someone who is grieving, someone who's in bereavement, someone who's going through mental angst, is going through pain. Recognize them, know them, speak to them. Do not make yourself asher lo yadat Yosef. Do not become as cruel as Pharaoh was. This is not the Jewish way, and it is not the way that we are meant to behave, or anyone for that matter. The Torah way is to embrace people, to try and understand them, to speak with them, to converse with them, to empathize with them. And if we don't or cannot comprehend the situation that they're in, and God forbid we ever should, I don't wish that on anyone, let's at least demonstrate that we're Yodea Otam, that we know them, that we want to know them, that we want to help. This is the Jewish way, it is the Torah way. And yes, my dear Gila, you have always taught me that this is the Gila way. Shabbat Shalom.